Okay, so I'm done. It's Thursday morning, probably around 6 o'clock. There's been like a few slight epiphanies. So the first one is this stuff here. So it was about a year ago that the welfare office came here and they did a few repairs, but basically they just put these receptacles on all the walls. But this is black magic. You wouldn't know it, but having these in the house is a way to harm me when I climax. So hang on, I got those. Okay, so these are the screws, but because they have a white head, it's a representation of my head and spirituality, meaning to cause me harm, like to screw me in the head. That's what these are, because of the white element, spirituality, and the screw aspect of it. Now, because they're tied onto the switches and outlets, it's a representation of an attempt to I guess would let out some blood in my brain through the holes that are in the face plates. So it's quite elaborate magic, but it's black magic nonetheless. So you see these holes that are in there? These are a representation of holes in my head or my brain. And because the screw is going into those holes, and then screwed into the outlet and the switches, it's a black magic spell to cast a brain aneurysm or a stroke on my brain through the white head. Then the screw aspect, then into the hole. So when I climax with this stuff in the house, it's a danger to me. So these are called receptacle covers, but everybody else calls them face plates. So because they're called face plates, they're connected to my face. And plates. So I got plates here, right? So these are plates, or they're hidden in there somewhere. I got them in there somewhere. These are like dishes. That's a plate, so it's connected to that, which is also connected to license plates that as the cars drive by, there's an association to license plates. So the license plates connects to the highway. Because it's called highway, it's a representation of trying to cast a black magic spell using the cars that are going by on the highway and their license plates connected to the plates in my house, which is then connected to the face plates here. And because there's a passing lane out in front of my house, that's the dotted lines, it's a representation of me passing through the association of the license plates on the vehicles. So all it would take is like a car to pass another car in front of my house. Not at the exact same time, I just mean sometime during the day, so that it's like passing. So the plate means I'm going to be passing away because I'm taking the highway, meaning I'm getting high. So that car passing out there, because there's a dotted line out there, is connected to the plates, which is connected to the face plates, which is then connected to the screw heads and the holes in the face plates. So that's one epiphany. So I came in here and I started refreshing up. So I opened up this toothbrush here. And there's one on the ground over there, right? So that's my old one. So it's a representation of Earth And this is a representation of air. You notice that this one is blue and white. Okay. And this one is orange and white. So this one here, because it's orange and white, is like it's a representation of fire, because orange is the element fire. That's air. So that's fire, that's air. These two things here, they're a representation of earth. So I was flossing my teeth, and that one broke, but that one stayed intact. So this one breaking is a representation of the grandfather spirit. So I'm trying to figure out if that guy's alive or if he's dead or what. So I'm theorizing that the reason why they've been getting me to do the crystal meth is because they want to lock away my spirit at the bottom of the black hole and keep his near the top, because he's like, I don't know, I don't think of him as being a good guy. So by way of spiritual warfare, I'm assuming it's intended that my grandfather will end up at the bottom of the black hole, their grandfather will end up at the top of the black hole, which will still allow them to travel through space. However, if that's their grandfather particle, because I put him to sleep because of the climax I had, then that's me. I'm on top of the black hole. So what I did is I barely drank any water, and I didn't even eat for the past 30 hours and change. And then I had the climax, and I'm still running off of energy, like I'm running off fat reserves. So that's basically living off of sin, because I don't technically know if I'm sin, but I theorize that they've made my spirit like a sinner, because all they would have had to do is chop up my body when they murdered me, and then they would have just had to deliver it to 8 different universes, and then I would have a spirit basically in 8 of those different universes who's being infected with the pedophile androids, nonsense. And then you gotta add into my spiritual warfare, which also affects that spirit. So that's what they did. They chopped me up, created the pedophile androids. Meanwhile, they're running around as teenagers up in the other universe. And then me waging the spiritual warfare, it takes a toll on my spirit. So because it's taking a toll, I don't know if that's me or if that's me. So I'm going to say that's me, this one, because I'm air, and because it's white, and that's fire, and that's white, I'm fire and I'm air. I'm also the last airbender from Avatar, The Last Airbender. So this is a representation of me. And because I've been keeping up on my transgressions and purification ceremonies, I'm in the clear, basically. Pretty much. So those are mine. So that's a representation of Earth. This is air. Now, this thing here, it's unopened. So as I'm looking at this, I have to analyze it. And because it says gate, that's a representation of Stargate. Through there's a trailer called Stargate about basically a wormhole that can travel across the universe. So this is like a LOC means lock, like gate lock. So what is the gate lock? Cavity protection. Cavity is a representation of Earth. Earth protection is what it means, because we have cavities in our intestines. This here means protection car. IE is a representation of, I think it means example. So car is a representation of transportation, meaning the cavity protection And the car protection means spaceship protection from the gate, which is locked. But how is it locked? So there's a message here saying I gotta save water. So basically, what I've been doing is I've been sitting up when I'm doing my edging and when I'm doing my climaxes because I'm working with fire. So this climax I had here, I laid down on my back. When I'm laying on my back and I climax, there's a connection to fire. So basically, there's a marching orders. They want me to save water. See that? Oh, why the hell is it doing that? Anyways, save water. So that's the other message. So this says combat. That says the RE means reason, and then the N is a representation of north, and then force, meaning Santa Claus north. And I'm a representation of Santa Claus because I'm Aunt to Santa Satan. So the combat means, reason, Santa, force, meaning I'm the force from Star Wars, or I'm the visible electromagnetic radiation in the universe. I'm also the savior. So that's what I've been pondering. I've been wondering: is it possible to shut that Stargate down, or this here by running? So this here, you would think is a clue to keep the gate closed. However, my shoes tell a different story. So these are my shoes, and the 25 is a representation of 25 to life. Prison time, which is also connected to Four Non-Blondes. What's up? 25 years in my life, I'm still trying to get up that great big hill of hope. So basically, this clue here means the bus or the sub is a representation of interstellar space travel. And then MIN is minimum, not maximum, minimum, which basically means their way to travel, which is using the visible electromagnetic radiation through the universe, black holes. Whereas maximum is, flying anywhere in the universe using the hydrogen at the subatomic level. So LEG is leg, meaning this is like, I guess, my last leg, meaning I either have to run or have to continue with the ceremonies with the expectation of putting the grandmother and the grandfather to sleep. But that's easier said than done, because when I climax, I'm basically I'm trying to shut down the spirits in the brain, but they've hidden themselves in a computer, so it's very hard to get at them. But down here in this universe, I don't quite know if they have a spirit down here. I'm assuming if there's an overlord in this universe, there should be a spirit in this universe, which means that the way they travel will allow them to travel. So basically what I'm trying to get at is, if my spirit is evil, but he's at the top of the black hole, and I've dispatched the other spirits because of the orgasm in the sinning, then these guys that are trying to pretend to be good I basically eradicated their spirits and put them at the bottom of the hole through the sinning. However, if I want to get a message over to the other universe or get my spaceships here, it means I have to run. But then there's a potential that I could wake up that other guy's spirit and he could supersede me. Or there's a race going on, which is what the leg means, meaning I now have to run consistently without relapsing to make sure that my spirit, makes it to the top too. So I'm gonna base my guess on that one because I found some other information, as well. Meaning, let's go look at the other one over here. So anyhow, this one here, when I took my toothbrush out, it said 360. So there's been a 360 here, but in which way? Because when I was working with Earth, I was getting pain in the intestines because something was going on down there. So it's like they're doing an old bait and switch. So it's like the 360 means they've done some sort of bait and switch, and that could be my guy down there on Earth, and they've basically pigeonholed my guy away and are now rising up to the top. So there's a plan to try to grab all the elements. And like I said before, this hand here, all of these are basically taken. This one here has like like spirit to it. This is the element fire. So I think this is the one that they're trying to get a hold of. But this one here is these are the ladies of creation who are, basically evil. So that's fire. This one here, this is good. That's something I learned today because of the new toy that they got me to play around with. So I tossed out that other toy that, that gave me diarrhea. And they got me to make this toy, which is basically, it's a dish rag that I rolled up to create a hole there. And then I hold on to the toy like that with these fingers, because the thumb is a representation of spirit, so I don't really want to touch it. This one here is like, it's connected to the Pointer Sisters through the song Neutron Dance, so I don't really want to touch this one. And this one is like, to give somebody the bird is a representation of air, meaning F you. So I try to stay away from these just because of a song by Eminem, Not Afraid, where he says, quit playing with the scissors and shit. And then there's another one from Dead Zone where the guy takes his own life by jabbing scissors up into his brain. But he was a murderer, so he was about to get caught. So that could be a representation of the evil primordial son who murdered me, who doesn't want to get caught, therefore playing with scissors. So if he's the guy that's, quit playing with scissors and killed himself with scissors, that makes him the murderer. Meaning, it's probably my primordial son, and therefore I don't want to play with these ones. Meaning, when you have scissors, you hold them in a particular way. You usually hold them like that, right? But sometimes salon scissors are double. You hold them like that. So that's why I hold that toy in the way that I do. So, like that. However, the climax that I had today was on this hand, fully and completely, like that, like fully and completely. So I theorize that this is the female side of creation, and that they're trying to get me to also harm the grandmother with using this hand. So I took a picture, but I can't show you the picture because there's some other pictures on there um, of a porn star called CC Rose. So um, and YouTube will shut me down if I click on the pictures. So I'll have to show you in the next video. But I took a picture after I was done the climax of the time, and it was the percentage on my phone was 55%, which is connected to "I Can't Drive 55" by Sammy Hagar, which means the grandmother of all creation can't drive 55, meaning she can't do crystal meth, meaning I can't climax with this hand on crystal meth. Otherwise, I could do harm to her. So that's the other epiphany. So if she's this could be a representation of her. And that's a representation of me, earth and air. So you notice this over here, that's orange, which is fire, and then that's black, which is a representation of silence versus sound, night versus day. So that's fire and water, or orange is the new black, which is it's basically like that's a prison show. Orange is the new black. These are what I'm working with, because when I'm laying on my back, I'm working with fire. I'm working with water. That's a water climax. And when I'm sitting up with my back against the wall, I'm working with fire. So I don't know who that is. I don't know if it's grandmother, but I don't think so, because I have all the elements. So it could be her, and they're just trying to get me to infect her with sin and lock her in prison. So that's what I've also theorized is going on. They're trying to get me to play around with water, play around with fire, so that I'll infect evil grandmother with sin. And if I don't run and exercise, she's going to carry on with that sin. And there's a trailer called What Dreams May Come. In that particular What Dreams May Come, the guy, he dies and goes to heaven. He meets his children who died prior to him. And then his wife commits suicide. And she's basically locked in hell. He goes over to try to rescue her. She forgets who he is. Then he makes her remember who she is. And then they both exit that hell that she's in, and they meet back in heaven. So it's a representation of potentially the grandmother maybe forgetting who she is because of all the spiritual warfare that I'm waging, and I'm not running, which is that's a big red flag. So I need to start running. So that's based on that. There, I'm going to do the running, because this one here. This clue here is a representation of not running and trying to keep me using the crystal meth when I need to be running. So I got to start my exercises to. I theorize some of the mental images that I used in my mind during the last 7 years of spiritual warfare, or 250 days, to purify the grandmother of sin. Which means that 360 can mean I have to run 360 days, because that's, roughly around, how many days that I've waged spiritual warfare over 7 years. And if after that amount of time there, I do the running, I should be able to resurrect her. Which means I'm not in no rush to launch this book, because if I launch the book, it's going to set up a series of events where potentially these guys come over and, try to get rid of me. So I think I'm gonna take it easy for a year and do my running and see what happens. Do my diet. So the other clues that I found was Peter Pan. So there's Peter Pan, a trailer called Peter Pan, where he walks, or the dialogue is, What if you could escape to a faraway world without rules or boundaries, um, without parents to tell you what to do? So that trailer, Peter Pan, that says without parents to tell you what to do is a representation of there not being any parents in creation. However, I'm still standing here. If I'm still standing here, it's a representation of either one, evil has gotten rid of my soulmate, like I said in previous other videos, where they basically abducted her and de-atomized her somewhere. Or it is what I say it is, which means I have to, buy my soul to one of the 10 ladies that I've chosen. But that, I theorize, is just smoke and mirrors to, throw me off the trail. Because if I get too involved in this and then seek out, one of these participants, try to buy my soul to them and fall in love with them without doing my due diligence and trying to, get a message over to the other universe, get them to come here, and then fly around to these other universes to look for an electron and try to resurrect that electron to see who I'm dealing with. Because I don't know if it's Sherry, I don't know if it's Jaden, I don't know if it's Leia, I don't know if it's my stepdaughter Minogue Man, and I don't know if it's Summer Cameron, because those are the ladies that I'm focusing on. So we'll have to take a step back, ladies, when we get to this point, because there's no rushing. Like, fools don't rush in. I think that's a song, right? So I'm not rushing into this. I'm just telling you the facts. So that's from the Peter Pan. But there's also another clue from Game of Thrones. So the mother of dragons, she's given 3 dragon eggs. And there's these like White Walkers in the north, they call it, or the west. No, not the west. Near the western wall, not western. There's a big wall of ice in the north, anyways. In that story, and on the other side of the wall is like a permanent winter where zombies or ice zombies live. So those ice zombies, they're successful in killing one of the 3 dragons of Khaleesi's. And then turn that dragon into ice, which combats the fire dragons. So it's a representation of Jaden being as cold as ice to me. However, the fact that the dragon died can also be an interpretation of perhaps they, abducted her at whatever age it may be and, de-atomized her. And the only clue I got for that is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If you watch the trailer, there's a little boy who gets abducted, goes on a UFO, and then at the end of the movie, gets off the UFO, and then another guy gets on the UFO. So the little boy getting off the UFO is a representation of potentially, like what I've been saying all along, these guys coming over here, abducting her, de-atomizing her. Because that's connected to Ready Player One, the Crystal Key. Because when he gets to Crystal Key, he has to play a game called Adventure, and then he says, "You see, Robin Warren liked what he did. He wanted to know who was behind it. That's why he created the first Easter egg ever. And to find it, you didn't even have to try. You had to blindly play, walk around, searching room to room, looking for an invisible dot." You took the dot back to the main screen, and that's when you found the first Easter egg ever, the creator's name. So it's an association of whoever the dot is being the creator, and me having to search in invisible rooms or invisible or universes, the 8 parallel universes along the invisible electromagnetic radiation of the universe, because that's where she'll be, somewhere in those invisible electromagnetic radiation waves. So next, because in Close Encounters there's it takes place at Devil's Monument or Devil's Tower, there's a particular story, Native American story, where 7 young girls got chased by an angry bear, where they then came across a stump, prayed to the creator, And the Creator raised him up in the air, which now has become the Devil's Tower. And the bear was trying to get at them still, and he clawed away at the stump, putting the scratches in the side of the monument. So the bear is a representation of me because I'm Bear Clan. The 7 girls is a representation of Jaden because she's got, 6 sisters, or 5 sisters, making 6 in the family, plus the mother is 7. So I don't know why the bear would be mad at them, but, perhaps it has something to do with the little boy being abducted and then brought back on a UFO, which could be a representation of, no offense, Jaden, but, this is spiritual warfare, or this is warfare. And my theory about them coming here, abducting you and taking you away, de-atomizing you, and then replacing you with something else. It has to be taken with a grain of salt. It has to be legitimate. So, I think those are the only clues that I had, or the epiphanies that came to me. Oh, the other one, from Peter Pan. Imagine a faraway place where you could get away from it all and there'd be no parents there. Peter Pan is connected to Pan's Labyrinth, which is about a young girl in a faraway world being reborn again, or reincarnated, and a legend wanting to reunite with that girl. I'm the legend, basically wanting to reunite with my soulmate, but the girl being reincarnated again is a representation of being cloned or being reatomized using advanced technology. So, those are just the basic facts. Now, I don't want to detract from my love story, Jaden, but there is another story called Another Earth, which is about me having to create another Earth for the, I'm told, 4 billion sleepwalkers on planet Earth. But as I was doing my investigation, it came to me through, some of the videos that I was watching that perhaps, my spiritual warfare did, do more harm than good. And I might have put everybody to sleep, with the exception of the kids that haven't climaxed. So that needs to be considered, meaning if I put not everybody to sleep, but basically drained your soul's electricity, every time you had a climax, all evil had to do is teleport a soul into you. So in theory, it can mean that, either tonight, because of tonight's climax, meaning everybody now has their soul drained. If I don't do my exercises to repair that damage, can mean that everybody, over a period of time having a climax would be put to sleep and replaced with the person that's inside of you. Meaning, I in theory could be dealing with an entire planet of people who are not who they say they are. And then if I release my book without doing my year-long run and not have control of the invisible electromagnetic radiation, then they could come over here and, get rid of me, because the entire planet are, imposters. And the only clue I have for that is The Last Man on Earth, which is about me being the last man on Earth, and who has to look after, kids roughly probably from 7 and under who haven't, experienced the rush of a first climax, meaning they still have their souls, which makes me the last man on Earth. So, the other Earth one, it's about building a planet for these people that are imposters. So if the entire planet are imposters, that means I need an entire planet to put you guys on again, because we're talking 8 billion people here who need an entire planet, because I need to resurrect the bodies of 8 billion people. If you are all imposters, I need to resurrect 8 billion people. And then we have a planet full of 60 billion people, not to mention the 2 billion people that I got to resurrect. So we're now at, 10 billion plus 8 billion. We're at 18 billion on a planet that could only sustain 11 billion. So that's an issue. That's why I have to build another planet. And that's why I said in the previous videos, you guys ain't going home because I'm waging a war against your evil civilizations. And you don't get to go home. You don't get to change your bodies. You're stuck in the body that you are. And you got to do the purification program, which takes about 1,000 years to, forget who you were in your past life and only remember who you are in this life. So that's what Another Earth is about. But it's also about Jaden or one of my other mates, because it talks about a girl doing something terrible, unforgivable, I think they say in each other. It's about, let me tell you a story. It's about a girl. She does something unforgivable. They talk about, basically she gets into, she was driving drunk and she hurts her family. She takes away the wife and the children of the man. The man is left all by himself. So she thinks that she can make his, day a little bit brighter by going over there to apologize for, killing the mother and his children. But she loses her nerve. She doesn't follow through. When she goes to knock on the door, she changes her story and pretends to be, I think, a maid and helps start cleaning the house. Then they befriend one another. And eventually she tells him the truth, I think. But she goes to the door, she lies, she doesn't tell him that she's doing that harm to parents, or harm the mother and the children. And she lies to him, which can be a representation of one of my wives lying to me. Because if you guys are all, imposters, I can't trust anybody. No offense, but I don't know, because evil could be just getting me to say that. But I have to put, worst case scenario first. And if that's worst case scenario, then that's what goes first. So Another Earth is a representation of somebody lying to me to try to get me to bind my soul to them or fall in love with them without me doing my legwork. Meaning I have to go investigate out in the universe to make sure that I'm actually, marrying the right person. So that's what Another Earth is about. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, Jaden, and please forgive me and don't get mad at me, but I remember watching a video of you on Facebook where you were singing, I want to be a billionaire so fucking bad. As you and Amelia were singing that song. So, in part of the reason why I offered $1 billion is because, if you're not the person I'm supposed to be with, and, you take the stance that I'm a horrible person, and, some people have de-atomized, an older version, that could be, an explanation why I'm getting the cold shoulder. Therefore, that song where you're singing a billionaire means, I'm looking for a canary to start singing, basically, oh, I'm from this planet, I'm from that planet, my name is this, I'm this many years old, or I'm this old. Here's the plan that we were told over there. You go here, we do this, we do that. This is the plan, this is what's going on in creation here, there, and there. So you got to tell your story, right? So that's what I told everybody else to do if they wanted $1 billion. But because you sung that song, A Billionaire, and I'm just proposing mankind that perhaps, my reincarnated soulmate is not maybe who I expected. And as such, perhaps she might want to, make that song come true and maybe claim that $1 billion and become a billionaire and, go seek out the New York Times and maybe tell a different story. So, please forgive me, girl, but these are the things that come from spiritual warfare. These small little insights, so to say. So, With that, I'll shut this video down. I'll do another one with the videos that need to be watched.